For over 100 years, the meaning of quality has been closely associated with driving business organizations to be efficient and in order to deliver in an effective way. In actual fact, the quality orientation was to deal with deficiencies and tackle variation and limit the cost that hinders productivity, hinders performance, and affects businesses' competitiveness. All of the gurus have had their own philosophies and approaches to managing quality through a focus on efficiency. Most of them focused heavily on the cost of quality and the cost of non-quality, the price of non-conformance, and the optimization of processes by introducing the continuous improvement philosophy of deriving most out of the resources in order to deliver more in terms of the outputs and the outcomes. So that is the basic understanding of what efficiency is. Whether it's in the government sector or the private sector, it's a matter associated with cost and limiting the over expenditure and the operating budgets so that value can be created at low cost or zero cost to the organization. It is, in a sense, a transfer of value gained through the application of quality management to the end customer by adding value in terms of features of products, in terms of enhanced services, or in terms of investing in new innovative ideas that will in the end benefit the customer. It might also be in terms of not harming the customer's interests by keeping prices at a reasonable level and competing on a cost advantage. In simplest terms, this is how efficiency has been used over a long period of time. Let's really examine what it means in an era of digital disruption and at an age where business organizations and enterprises are considered to be ecosystems operating through smart thinking and using different arrangements for creating value and serving their customers and primary stakeholders. The proposition is that modern day efficiency is totally different from conventional approaches to managing efficiency. And the hypothesis is that efficiency can be managed dynamically by delivering at different levels. So the conventional mean goes back to the 15th century, where efficient was considered to be causing something to happen, a cause that produces an effect, so to speak. And in the medieval ages, Aristotle's theory of causation was a form of defining efficiency. So his proposition is that there are four types of efficiency or causes: the formal cause, the material cause, the movement or efficient cause, and the final cause. So in a sense, it's the input that delivers the outputs and the process in the middle. And this evolved to a more meaningful definition or understanding, but efficiency in the 21st century at least was considered to be a qualitative or a quantitative means for describing how a value is created or how an operation is carried out, and quantitatively by measuring. It was also a way of characterizing the strength of processes, machines, or the implementation of know-how. The quantitative means are through mathematical formulas that determine how efficient a process is, an activity is, or an organization is. But also efficiency is used in normative sense to look at the speed of reaction, for example, to look at the overall usage of resources, to look at how change is being implemented, and to look at the smartness in terms of doing plant layouts, amongst many other things. So in a broad sense, being efficient simply means finding the fastest and most effective way, but also the cheapest means by which the attainment of the end goal is secured. Now, in the context of assets management evolving from tangible to intangible, this raises a lot of questions. In the 21st century, the main focus of efficiency was on the use of facilities, equipment, and assets such as IT, for example, and financial resources. Since 1975, the emphasis on intangible assets has grown significantly, and the market capitalization of enterprises has changed from tangible to intangible. 70% at least of the value of an organization that is public are intangible assets. The decline in the emphasis on value through the ownership of physical assets has decreased significantly by at least 70, if not 80%. So this begs the question, how do we measure efficiency in the context of a knowledge-based enterprise or an enterprise that is classified as an intelligent organization that has zero assets but delivers maximum value and which competes on new parameters? For example, many of the .com organizations, Google, eBay, Amazon, and organizations such as Uber or Netflix, for example, Airbnb. So these organizations don't have any assets. But are they efficient in the context of what they do in the current time, and what makes them competitive if we cannot measure efficiency or productivity from a conventional standpoint? In the days of tangible assets, whether it was cash, land, equipment, inventory, machinery, or stock, for example, that was easy to calculate. The depreciation used to be easy to calculate, and the efficient utilization could be worked out with accuracy. In the intangible assets era, the possession of an organization that is world-class and competes at a high level is the intellectual property, whether it's patents, trademarks, copyrights, the goodwill it generates with its stakeholders and customers, and the brand recognition and reputation, the value of its position, particularly on the internet, such as domain names, and the human capital is one of the most valuable intangible assets. With this in mind, one proposal for a modern description of efficiency is the approach of enabling the realization of ambitious plans through the smart allocation of resources to the most critical areas and key priorities, and also the deployment of relevant capabilities in support of value creation and the generation of desirable outcomes. The smart allocation of resources could implicitly mean leveraging is allowed. The most critical areas means that waste is avoided at any cost. The key priorities would mean that the achievement of outcomes is well determined and identified. And more importantly, the availability and the smart deployment of capabilities that are not wasteful because they are deployed purely and simply in support of value creation from a relative standpoint. And efficiency is about making sure that the deployment of capabilities that are needed, hopefully at a distinctive level, leads to the generation of the right outcomes, the desirable ones. So this emerging definition of efficiency concept is multi-level, and the proposition is that efficiency has to be considered at 5 distinctive levels. The baseline is the operational level, and this philosophy is to continue to consider efficiency from the classical viewpoint with a mindset of less is more by combating waste of all kinds, whether it's cost, speed, error, duplication, and whatever disrupts the operations of an organization, and particularly ensuring that poor quality that leads to customer unhappiness are avoided at any cost. This vision of ensuring that the right approach to utilizing resources of all kinds, whether it's people, facilities, finance, information, and so on, is optimized to support all the operational activities. The second level is what has been referred to as efficiency for optimization. This is by adopting the philosophy of more for less, and it means that by creating robustness in all the operations that affects the value chain to ensure reliability and predictability of performance by eliminating inconsistencies, disruptions, delays, bottlenecks, and so on. In other words, it is aimed at creating a seamless process management culture that uses, for example, Lean Six Sigma philosophy and international quality assurance standards. A high level of efficiency is termed as the efficiency for transformation. This philosophy is doing new and personalized for less. The main focus here is on developing value creation capability through innovative and smart thinking, in the end for the purpose of delivering personalized value to the end customer. And it means that an organization has to be able to develop and deploy creative capabilities and use smart resourcing through collaboration and co-creation, and by fueling and encouraging the climate of engagement of employees and partners for value creation. The fourth angle is efficiency for disruption, and this means that the philosophy changes to doing new with the new by creating future enterprise models and managing value creation based on exploration and exploitation of our opportunities, with considering efficiency from the context of finite shelf life and consumption orientation, with commoditization, meaning that the shelf life would require a creative replenishment on a regular basis. And also efficiency from the point of view of disruption is about building capabilities that deal with relative delivery. And also the deployment of the capabilities is considered to be changeable means as opposed to rigid and structural means which become dependable means. So the vision for exploring through imagineering and creating opportunities using connected networked systems dynamically functioning by allowing the pervasiveness of collaboration and co-creation and the reliance on leveraging as a means for driving force. So to drive efficiency towards the achievement of a leading position means that there is a fifth angle to look at, and that is the efficiency of dynamicity, or the efficiency of disruption that leads to a dominant position. This is achieved through being an insight-driven organization, capitalizing on the strength and power of complex data analysis and the use of data analytics at the top level. So it's a radical shift from defining key performance indicators of a stable and structured work environment to a dynamically oriented work environment that is driven by transformation and disruption, and which requires predictive and prescriptive KPIs that will allow the organization to explore without limits what the future might offer. So the acceleration of organizational visions that are highly ambitious is by deploying efficiency at different levels, bearing in mind that there is no optimal level. A highly efficient organization as a closed system is not sufficient in this turbulent era for guaranteeing its sustainability and continuity of purpose. An open system, dynamically oriented organization would not have an optimum, since it's driven by regular renewal, regular disruptions, and the unabated effort to transform and create self-renewal. In this context, it will be futile to have a measurement of efficiency in absolute terms. Rather, it is more useful to look at efficiency from the point of view of disrupting and creating the necessary mindset for continuing to do new with new.